hope I don't ever see nothing like it again. Devastating.
On July 5, 1994, Tropical Storm Alberto moved across the Gulf of Mexico and stalled over Georgia. Although it lost its tropical storm status within hours, weak upper-level winds allowed the low-pressure area to sit and continue to draw up water from both the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. The result was record rainfall over most of central and southern Georgia and southeastern Alabama during the period from July 4th to July 7th, 1994. These torrential rains gave way to major flooding of the Flint and Ocmulgee rivers in Georgia, and to a lesser extent, the Chattahoochee River, which forms the border between parts of Georgia and Alabama. Along the Ocmulgee River, rainfall amounts ranged from as little as 2 inches to as much as 17 inches near Macon. Macon itself received 13 inches. In Macon, the crest level of the Ocmulgee rose 27 feet during the 3 days between July 4th and July 7th. This exceeded the 100-year flood by 1 foot. Some locations reported exceeding a 500-year flood, although other locations did not reach a 100-year event. On the Flint River, rainfall varied from 7 inches in Atlanta and Albany to more than 27 inches in Americus. As a result, in Albany, the crest level of the Flint rose 36 feet during the 7 days between July 4th and July 11th. This exceeded the 100-year flood by 2 feet and is 1.5 feet below the 500-year flood, although some locations reported that a 500-year event was reached. 34 losses were reported, with 24 due to flood, 3 due to water damage, and 7 due to service interruption. Net losses totaled $8.6 million in property damage and time element losses of $6.1 million. Scheduled locations accounted for 69% of the total net dollars lost. Of the 34 reported losses, 13 occurred in Macon, 10 in Albany, 3 in Americus, and 1 each in Andersonville, Barnesville, Butler, Fort Valley, Tifton, and Warwick, Georgia, as well as Columbia and Mart, Alabama. Of the 13 losses which occurred in Macon, 7 were due to flood, 5 were due to service interruption, and 1 was due to water damage. Net losses totaled $3.8 million. Let's look at some specific cases. Brown & Williamson Tobacco Corporation manufactures several brands of cigarettes at the rate of 450 million per day, and this is the insured's main production facility. Potable water is needed in various processes, including the boiler room, humidification, and temperature control. As a result of the 500-year flood level of the Ocmulgee River, the Macon Water Treatment Facility was shut down from July 7th through the 18th. And water was not provided to industrial customers until July 25th. The plant arranged to use 50 tank trucks, made temporary connections to process water lines, trucked sewage off-site, and obtained water from a nearby city. This was accomplished in less than 4 days with no loss of production. Potash Corporation mixes and bags fertilizer, which is stored in bulk form in large bins within the main building. Pile heights approach 25 feet. Floodwaters from the Ocmulgee River approached 100-year flood levels, resulting in 4 to 6 feet of water entering all buildings and causing extensive damage to both product and property. Area officials were aware that the Macon levee did not offer protection from a 100-year flood, and a study was underway to raise it, although the study had not been completed. Riverwood International USA operates this pulp and paper mill, which produces linerboard and coated paper products. Waters from the Ocmulgee River reached 500-year flood levels, which washed out a sedimentation pond, wet down an off-site parts storage warehouse, and damaged a railroad spur. The loss reflects the business interruption potential posed by the loss of raw processed water and the additional expense of shipping raw materials and finished products due to disruption of transportation facilities. There were 10 losses in Albany, all due to flood, for a net loss of $6.7 million. Here are 3 representative losses. Kmart Corporation's store number 7496 was a full-service retail store, including snack shop and auto repair shop. Prior to closing, much of the merchandise was moved at least 2 feet off the floor. Bags of soil were stacked at all openings. The store sits 3,000 feet from the Flint River, in a 100-year flood zone. However, flood waters reached 500-year levels, resulting in 31 inches of water throughout the store. Water wet all goods, fixtures, and supplies up to 31 inches, and other items fell into the water or were dampened by moisture. Kmart has decided not to reopen this store. Diagonally across the intersection from Kmart is Food Lion Incorporated store number 664. This typical grocery store was an unscheduled and unvisited location in flood zone A. Waters from the Flint River reached 500-year flood levels, resulting in 42 inches of water throughout the store. The store was without power for over a week, so all perishables were unsalvageable. Moisture saturated and mildewed all merchandise above the water level, and nothing could be salvaged. Coates & Clark Incorporated is a yarn manufacturing plant which normally produces 400,000 pounds of yarn per week. As a result, about 700,000 gallons of processed wastewater are discharged into the municipal sewage system each day. No flood waters entered this plant, which is located in flood zone C. However, the plant was unable to dispose of its processed wastewater since the discharge lines of the municipal sewage treatment plant, located on the Flint River, were below the water level of the river and were not able to discharge effluent. Alternative means of discharging wastewater were explored, but with no success. Production was estimated to be interrupted for up to 3 weeks. 3 losses were reported in Americus, 1 each due to flood, service interruption, and water damage. Net losses were $1.2 million. Textron Incorporated is an automobile bumper and plastic manufacturing plant located in Americus, which suffered a surface water loss due to the 28 inches of rain which fell during the storm. This is the highest reported rainfall amount anywhere in Georgia. The loss of the public water system shut down production and flooded highways, which impeded the access of personnel to the plant and the shipping of finished products to market. Of the remaining 8 losses, 6 were due to flood and 1 each to water damage and service interruption. Net losses were $3 million. Of significant interest is the earthen dam and power station on Lake Blackshear in Warwick, Georgia. Crisp County Power Commission operates this 31-megawatt power plant, which sells electricity to the grid during peak demand periods. The plant has 3 generation sources: a 12.5-megawatt steam turbine generator, a 5-megawatt natural gas combustion turbine generator, both of which are housed in the steam plant, and 4 hydro turbine generators, which are housed in the hydro plant. The hydroturbine generators are rated at 2.5 megawatts, 4 megawatts, 4.5 megawatts, and 5.4 megawatts. Steam to the plant is provided by a coal-fired boiler. Despite securing equipment and sandbagging the premises, water entered the plant, partially submerging the gas and hydro generator coils. All other critical equipment was underwater, except for the steam boiler, generator, turbine, and steam plant control room. The 500-year flood levels were also responsible for the topping and washing away of a portion of the earthen dam adjacent to the plant. Approximately 700 linear feet of the dam was washed down 8 to 20 feet, allowing a greater volume of water to go downstream to Albany. As a result of the floods, 31 people died. 30,000 were evacuated from their homes. 175,000 were without water, and 42 disaster areas were declared.
At 6:30 a.m. on Friday, July the 30th, 1993, we received a telephone call informing us that the city of Chesterfield was recommending that all companies located in the Chesterfield Valley shut down operations and prepare for a possible flood from the Missouri River. It was estimated that the water would be 6 to 7 feet deep if the levee broke, which would be 2 to 3 feet above our floor level. We took immediate action and began implementing our flood disaster plan. After we paid our bills, backed up our entire computer system, and cut a check to the American Red Cross for $10,000 to help other people who had been flooded, we moved our files, computers, etc. to the second floor. Then we began securing the building. We covered all exterior glass and doors with plywood up to 4 feet above the floor, and covered this with polyethylene film for protection from the water. We secured these areas with sandbags. By 10 p.m. we had shipped 18 truckloads of finished products and raw materials to either our customers or an outside warehouse in St. Louis. 12 employees and I remained to continue preparation work. Knowing we might be trapped in the building, we had food, cots, first aid supplies, mobile phones, and a police scanner radio on hand.
In the dark of night, the Monarch levee gave way. Spotlights gave our cameras just a hint of what was happening below as water spilled onto the runways at Spirit of St. Louis Airport. Daylight put it into perspective. Gumbo Flats was turning into a lake, closing off Highway 40 and the Daniel Boone Bridge. Acre after acre was taken over by the river as businesses and some homes stood in the way. And these are this morning's pictures. As you can see, the water just gushing through the Chesterfield Valley area, covering acres and acres of land of some 500 businesses, some 50 homes, the Spirit of St. Louis Airport, the Gumbo Correctional Facility, and it just continues to pour out into this area.
After the Monarch levee was breached, we were surrounded by water within 2 hours, and all gas and electricity to the valley had been cut off. At 1:30 a.m., those of us who had been working since 5 to 6 a.m. the previous day laid down to get a few hours sleep, and the remaining people watched the building for problems. By dawn on Saturday, the water was over 5 feet deep surrounding the plant and rising at 3 inches per hour. We began pumping water out of the plant, but gave up after 30 minutes, since we had lost another inch while pumping. At approximately 8:30 a.m., we notified the police department by mobile phone that we needed to be rescued. The water was obviously much higher than projected. As we watched from the second floor, in addition to jet fuel slicks on top of the water, trash dumpsters, airplanes, and other debris was floating towards our plant. The 13 of us were rescued by the fire department. We climbed down off the roof onto a cooling tower, 2 at a time, and then into John boats, which took us to an overpass over Interstate 40.
Rescuers used this boat to ferry 13 employees of the Tetra Plastics Company to this bridge near Gumbo Jail. All were choppered back to dry land by local pilots, including News 4 pilot Kay Lindbergh.
As we left the plant, we discovered a dumpster had crashed through the lobby window on the south side of our offices, which explained why the water level in the offices rose from 4 inches to over 3 feet in less than 2 hours. By the time the water crested on Sunday, it was 6 foot 8 inches deep inside of our plant and 10 to 12 feet deep outside. The breach in the levee had increased to 1,800 feet wide. On Monday, August the 2nd, we set up offices in the Doubletree Hotel, began looking for a building to lease, notified our customers of the flood, began a search for new and used equipment. On Thursday, August the 5th, property owners were told that they could travel to their companies by way of John boats to retrieve valuable documents and small items. After holding a company meeting to inform our employees of our situation, we made our first John boat trip to the plant. For the next 5 days, we ran 2 John boats back and forth to the plant to retrieve files, computers, tooling, and other items. We also took personnel to the plant to power wash equipment and apply Mazola oil to it to slow down the rusting and other damage that was occurring. The work days began at 7 a.m. and ended at sunset. At the end of each day, we had a debriefing session and then planned the next day's activities. On August the 10th, we signed a 2-year lease for a 101,000 square feet warehouse in Earth City, about 20 miles from our Chesterfield location. StaxRip Corporation was hired to cut 2 holes through the metal roof of our Chesterfield plant for the purpose of making a helicopter airlift. On August 11th, we conducted a helicopter airlift and removed 37 pieces of equipment and relocated them to the Earth City plant. It had been 11 days since the levee breach, and no one could predict when the water level would recede. Our enemy was quickly becoming time, in addition to the Missouri River. We simply had to find a way to get back into production, and quickly, in order to minimize any effect on our customers. The equipment was cleaned a second time upon arrival at Earth City. Restoration technology had been hired to clean the equipment at both the Chesterfield and Earth City plants. Because we were not able to airlift our 24-inch sheet lines and other heavy equipment in excess of 3,000 pounds, we turned our attention to finding some way of driving a truck to the plant. On August the 14th, we hired Link Trucking and paid them $18,000 up front for damages to one diesel tractor, which we later affectionately called the Duck. The Duck had to drive through 5 feet of water to reach the plant and sit in 4 feet of water at the loading docks. On the first trip in, we took a front-end loader to dig aisles through the debris inside the plant and 2 forklifts to move and load equipment. Because the truck was diesel, we were able to disconnect all electrical components after starting it and had it rigged to prevent other water damage. This operation was highly successful to the amazement of even the Coast Guard, and we continued it on a daily basis. Every morning we pleaded with the Duck to start again and do one more day's work. The first 2 pieces of equipment brought out by the truck were 24-inch sheet lines required for production of urethane sheet products for Nike and non-Nike customers. As the equipment arrived at Earth City, it was unloaded and checked to determine the extent of damage it had sustained. Replacement parts were ordered and the equipment was scheduled for rebuilding.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Hi, Uncle Louie.
There was considerable damage to the building, equipment, and material throughout the plant. Material and equipment had been scattered throughout the plant by the water current. There were no aisles left. We had to dig our way through to the equipment with a front-end loader. We continued to make news from the front page of Plastic News magazine, local newspaper and television, to Wall Street Journal television in both the United States and Japan. It seemed like the local media did a helicopter flyover every day just to see what kind of a wild and crazy thing we'd come up with now.
As well as parts for snow skis, automobiles.
At 11:13 p.m. on Thursday, August the 26th, we began production on Nike Visier tubing at our Earth City plant with the equipment we had retrieved from the flood area. We had to use portable generators for electrical power. Since we did not have our water system in operation, we could not run our chillers used to control the water temperature in the cooling tank. So we innovated and placed the chiller coils in a metal drum, which we then filled with ice to cool the coils. Everyone felt relieved to see that first production line running. On September the 2nd, we started production on our first 24-inch sheet line.
Those are rolls. Those rolls are probably shot. My guess. The finishers had it.
The equipment in this extrusion line has sustained considerable damage from the muddy Missouri River water. After being completely rebuilt, the equipment appears new and shows no ill effects from the flood. The blow molding machines were heavily damaged. These machines, which weigh over 20,000 pounds each, were loaded onto flatbed trucks and shipped to the OEM for rebuilding to original condition. While the blow mold machines were being rebuilt by the OEM, Tetra was hard at work reconstructing the mezzanines used above the machines, rebuilding and installing dryers, chillers, curing racks, cutout presses, and other related equipment. On Sunday, September the 19th, we began producing blow-molded heel bags on the first machine that had been removed from the flood area, rebuilt at the OEM, and installed at the Earth City plant. The water cooling tower and recirculation system, water distribution lines, air compressors, air distribution lines, and over $350,000 worth of electrical sub-panels and power distribution systems had to be installed at the Earth City plant.
Was there something about the machinery that you had here that was particularly unique? Was there something about the raw material that you had that was unique only to you? Was there somebody else who could provide the same quality of service that you had provided for us? And the answer came back clearly that the difference was in the people. The people were what made the products uniquely adaptable to the Nike product.
This morning, a levee break along the Mississippi in Monroe County, Illinois, sent a torrent of water rushing through isolated farmhouses. In less than an hour, an entire farm, silos, barns, and the family home were literally washed away. Just a few hours later, another farmhouse a quarter of a mile away was also torn apart by the floodwaters.
This is Chesterfield, Missouri, a suburb of St. Louis located less than a mile from the Missouri River. Floods came, Paul Mitchell, president of Tetra Plastics, saw much of his business crumble.
All of the materials that you see in these racks is a total loss. This will all have to be replaced.
We were looking at that yesterday. We had no idea what that is. I think it floated in here.
Yeah, it probably did. Looks like
some
dumpster.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. What kind of dumpster?
Look at one of our blow-molding cartridges up here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Floated all the way up here from the back.
Now that is hard to believe.
It is.
I wonder if they had that back here. You know? You're right, Whoa! We'll see, Craig. You're going under, baby.
No, that's got husky or snapper material in it.
Huh?
Yeah. That floated all the way from the back up here.
All the way around to here? That's a long way.
I'll take care of you.
Okay. And whatever it costs, we will.
$18,000.
$18,000. That's right there.
Wait a minute. That's fair play.
Hey, we're stupid. We meant to.
There's about 100 people standing across the westbound lanes of Highway 40. That's something you won't see very often, but you probably will be seeing it for at least the next few weeks here in the Chesterfield area. This is a section of Highway 40 that is closed. It's running right into the river, and there's been a constant flow of spectators coming to and from this area all day long, and everybody, as they're leaving, are just shaking their head, saying words like awesome, amazing, incredible. I think a number of people in this area and throughout the St. Louis area, Alton, Lee May, downtown St. Louis, have a newfound respect for these rivers, and we probably won't ever look at them the same way again.
It is now September the 23rd. We have 4 extrusion lines, 1 blow molding machine, and several fabrication jobs back in production. 150 employees are now working full-time, and the 41 employees still on layoff will all return within 2 weeks. By mid-December, we should be operating at full capacity. Our employees have met the challenge of the flood of 1993 and won.